We keep saying it, but I think it's such a massive occasion that happened 4 years ago. That a tragic incident took place at Lonmin mine in the Marikana area, close to Rustenburg. Here are those visuals once again. I think every time we see them, we go back to that day, that terrible day in history. It started as a strike. It then took a turn, and a series of violent incidents followed between the South African Police Service, Lonmin Security, and the mine workers, resulting on this day 34 miners being killed. But previously, in the run-up to this day, 10 miners were also killed. So remember, there were 44 lives lost during this period. Following the incident, the Marikana Commission of Inquiry was appointed. The commission made recommendations. And yesterday, the Amnesty International released a report with a focus on the appalling houses for workers at Lonmin. This morning, we're joined in studio by Muleya Mwananyanda. She is Amnesty International's Deputy Regional Director for Southern Africa. Thank you very much, Muleya. Thank you very much for being with us here on the program.
Thank you.
So you focus on Lonmin, you focus particularly on the housing. I mean, when you say it's just not up to scratch, I mean, what are we dealing with?
It's truly appalling. We've visited Kaneng, which is the informal settlement that's adjacent to the Lonmin mine. And this is where most of the Lonmin workers still live. They live in really, really poor conditions, and nothing much has changed for them. We interviewed a number of families. We've visited there quite a number of times. And the conditions are not really very habitable. Using pit latrines, 100 people to a pit latrine, and the pit latrines are quite shallow, so you can imagine when it rains, it overflows and some of it goes into their houses. They complained very, very bitterly that nothing much has changed for them. And it's really sad because Lonmin promised in its 2006 social and labor plan that it would build 5,500 houses for its workers. Nothing of that sort has been delivered. Only 3 show houses have been built. That is a total breach of their obligations within South African law.
3 show houses is what you're saying?
3 show houses.
So those are there just to show what are they there for?
So they're there because Lonmin said they wanted to show them to the workers because the story, if you look at their stories in the past 10 years, have changed so many times. So we looked at their sustainability reports to their shareholders, and in those reports, there's been contradicting statements that have been made. So, for example, Lonmin has said that the workers wanted to buy houses, but later on that story changed and said that a 2008 survey showed that the workers actually wanted to rent accommodation.
Yeah.
And it's true, the workers want to rent accommodation because most of them are migrant workers. So Lonmin should have known this, and they should not have said to their shareholders that they want to buy houses. The story has also changed, saying that, well, you know, we don't have money to do it because we were depending on a funding partner as well as a property developer to come and help with building the houses, but we haven't found a funding partner. Then the story changed to, oh, there's been a financial crash, so there's no money to build the houses. So it's been a litany of evasions and falsehoods that have been said by Lonmin.
So I mean, when you look at the circumstances that the miners that are left living in at this point in time, it's possibly even worse than before the Marikana massacre. It's
really worse, particularly for some of the families that lost some of their breadwinners. It's been a really difficult time for them. You know, just putting food on the table is a difficulty because they were depending on their breadwinners who have since departed.
Yeah, you know, I mean, it's horrible to say, and I suppose it is hard to say as well, that, you know, sometimes you can look at a tragedy and you see that a lot of people maybe give up their lives, and then you look years later and you say, you know, look at this. They gave up their lives so that we can have this and benefit from this. But these 44 miners that we're talking about were massacred, and the situation is worse. Nobody has been held accountable for this. Nobody has been arrested. There's just fingers pointed in every direction, and there's just absolutely no accountability, and the lives have worsened. I mean, this has to be a tragedy in itself.
It is a tragedy, and as you know, Amnesty International has since 2012 spoken out against the policing failures that led to the deaths of those people, and we've made a number of calls, including that of accountability, that people must be held accountable for this. Of course, a few of those things have been done. For example, I mean, there was the Farlam Commission, and then some people were suspended, including the police, the head of police, Ms. Ria Pieka. But still, nothing much has really been done in terms of really pinpointing the people that were involved and, you know, sanctions against them. And what is sad is that when we speak to people at the families there in Kaneng, they say that, well, you know, our people died for nothing because nothing has happened. Our lives have just worsened, and nobody has come to us and tried to help. Of course, they're receiving help from the different representatives, AMCO, and so on and so forth, but there is not a coordinated plan that is helping with the families in Kaneng.
I mean, if you think about, we're going to take a break and continue this interview, but just if you look at the cost, and I mean, we talk about the Farlam Commission, as you say, and I want to delve a little bit deeper into the Farlam Commission. Some of the recommendations, which I know you've touched on within the housing, and that hasn't been, those hadn't been seen because of, as you're saying, a whole bunch of different excuses and things that have come up. But at the end of the day, the Farlam Commission cost around about 153 million rand. That money in itself could have bettered the lives of the people living there. So, I mean, you know, what were some of the other recommendations coming out of the Farlam Commission, and have any of those been implemented?
Well, in particular, I'll speak about the recommendation on housing from Farlam, and what the Farlam Commission said on housing was that the Department of Mineral Resources should provide its oversight role on Lonmin to ensure that it met its social and labour plans. That hasn't happened because, as you might know, the department is also really overstretched in terms of its budget. So, for example, when we visited Klerksdorp, in the northwest, there were 3 people that were in charge of 250 social and labour plans. So you can imagine the social and labour plans are about an inch thick. So 3 people looking at 250 social and labour plans is just not enough. Yeah. So obviously there's going to be difficulties there.
Yeah, I mean the mining charter as well, let's not forget that it stipulates that there should be comfortable housing created for operators, that they're basically to address their human rights. And what you're saying, I mean, there is no addressing human rights. I mean, if there are pit toilets that run over into their houses if it rains, I'm sorry, but that is not a basic human right, and that does not sound like they're obeying by any standards. How are Lonmin getting away with this?
I don't know how Lonmin are getting away with it, and they must actually meet their human rights obligation in this regard. But they have gotten away with it because nobody has really questioned them.
Yeah. Let's take a very quick break. We'll wrap up the discussion after this. If you'd like to write to us, please do. If you want to put your comment forward on Marikana, remember Marikana, that's of course what we're looking at today. What happened after, well, as you can hear, doesn't seem like too much has progressed since that, even though we all watched the Farlam Commission hoping some answers would come out of that, and some I suppose some blame or some responsibility would be taken, and yet we still sit here 4 years later and waiting for those answers. Stay tuned. We'll have more after this.